Good evening, I'm Sneha Koshi. Well, today the grand old party's first non-Gandhi president of the 21st century has taken over from Sonia Gandhi. But it's 18 months left for the mega battle of 2024, the next parliamentary elections, the major challenge before Congress.
Grand old party's first non-Gandhi president of the 21st century taking over from Sonia Gandhi. 80-year-old Mallikarjun Kharge won 88% of the valid votes. His challenger Shashi Tharoor 12% and was seen as the official Gandhi-backed candidate. Rahul Gandhi denies that but let the results slip before it was officially announced.
My role, of course I cannot comment on Congress President's role, that is for Mr. Kharge to comment on. I am very clear as far as my role is concerned. The President will decide what my role is and how I am to be deployed.
Kharge is all set to take over as Congress President formally on the 26th of this month and reached out to Tharoor and the Gandhis.
मेरे साथी श्री शशि थरूर को भी शुभकामना देता हूं क्योंकि ये चुनाव में हम एक प्रतिनिधि के रूप में हम और वो खड़े थे। सभी कांग्रेस कार्यकर्ताओं की ओर से मैं श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी का आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। सोनिया जी ने पर्सनल सैक्रिफाइस कर 23 वर्ष तक कांग्रेस पार्टी के अपने खून पसीने से सींचा है।
While Tharoor was quick to congratulate Mr. Kharge, just before the results, his team complained about the irregularities in Uttar Pradesh, which has the largest number of delegates, but this was rejected by the election in charge.
When you find yourself playing a match on an uneven pitch and the ball bounces and turns awkwardly, you still have to bat. And I have been batting. We were only concerned that there should be no pitch tampering or ball tampering. And I think that for the most part, we have no complaints of that score. In any case, as has been pointed out, the result was pretty decisive. So I think it would be unfortunate to sort of blame conditions. What happened has happened. We have put forward the best account of ourselves that we could. And clearly, it wasn't good enough to carry the day.
Mr. Kharge has his work cut out. The dominance of the Gandhi family as a power center, rebuilding of a party which has lost several of the last elections since 2014, the exit of several senior leaders turned rebels like Ghulam Nabi Azad, Jyoti Aditya Scindia, Kapil Sibal, and perhaps most immediately the tussle for power in Rajasthan between the Congress Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot and his challenger Sachin Pilot, as well as the Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh campaign, which has seen only Priyanka Gandhi campaign so far. Rahul Gandhi has today said his priority is his yatra, and which will end in January next year after the Gujarat and Himachal elections.
I would say tapasya in understanding our people, in understanding our land and in understanding myself. I am not looking beyond this yatra. For me, this yatra is important and my entire focus needs to be on this yatra.
The two candidates are sharp contrasts of each other. One flamboyant, seen as elitist and daring to contest the Congress elections. The other a family loyalist, backroom strategist and ready to be a presidential candidate at the very last minute after the other Gandhi-backed candidate dropped out. In a pointed statement, the party's communication in charge, Mr. Kharge, always avoided flamboyance and has been the organization man working in a self-effacing manner to advance the collective interests of the Congress party. Mr. Kharge will occupy the post once occupied by stalwarts like Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose, Madan Mohan Malviya and Abdul Kalam Azad before independence. Since independence, there's been a Nehru Gandhi at the helm for the 42 of the last 75 years. Does he have what it takes to revive the party's fortune, especially in the 2024 elections? Mr. Kharge's victory was expected. But the 1,072 votes that Tharoor polled and the over 400 votes that were rejected are a clear message to the Congress party that they need to take certain corrective measures in terms of internal reforms to take the party forward. For Mr. Kharge, he has a task set off as soon as he takes over of not only forming a new steering committee and a plenary session, but also holding crucial elections for the Congress Working Committee, the CEC, as well as the Parliamentary Board. With Ankit and Shrija, Sunil Prabhu, NDTV.
In an exclusive, NDTV has accessed multiple FIRs and police complaints accusing the convicts in the Bilkis Bano rape case of threatening and harassing witnesses while out on parole. 11 men convicted of raping Bilkis Bano and killing her entire family in the 2002 Gujarat riots were freed this Independence Day. These 11 men, rapists and murderers convicted in the Bilkis case, were released early with laddus and garlands on grounds of good behaviour when they were in jail or out on parole. But that justification by the Gujarat government is on shaky ground after these FIRs and police complaints accessed by NDTV. Between 2017 and 2021, at least 4 witnesses in the Bilkis Bano case registered complaints and FIRs against the convicts while they were out on parole, NDTV's investigation reveals. And apart from the 1 FIR and 2 complaints accessed by NDTV against the convicts, there's another FIR against one of the convicts, Shailesh Bhatt, for outraging the modesty of a woman. Shockingly, this FIR is part of the Gujarat government's own filings in the Supreme Court. In July 2020, an FIR was registered in Radhikpur police station by Sabera Ben Patel, another victim of the Gujarat riots and a witness in the Bilkis Bano case, Pintu Bhai, against 2 of the convicts, Radhesham Shah and Mitesh Bhai Bhatt, on charges of sexual assault and threats while they were on parole. In January 2021, Mansuri Abdul Majid, another witness, filed a police complaint with Dahod police against another convict, Shailesh Bhatt, in January, alleging threats from the convict while he was out on parole. In July 2017, 2 other witnesses, Adam Bhai, Ismail Bhai and Imtiaz Bhai Yusuf Bhai, filed a complaint against one of the convicts, Govind Nai, again alleging that the accused made threats of murder if they didn't agree to compromise while he was on parole.
I have said no, when the government and the concerned people have taken decision, I don't want to make any comment on that, and I don't find anything wrong in that because it is done as per the process of the law.
Gujarat elections are round the corner, and now with these FIRs and serious complaints against the convicts of Bilkis Bano case while they were out on parole, questions are being raised about the intentions of the Gujarat government and the central government in approving the premature release of the convicts. Whether the Gujarat government goes back in its order, only time will tell, but for now it has some answering to do. With Tanushri Pandey in Gujarat, Sneha Koshi for NDTV. Moving on, religious leader Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh, sentenced for 20 years for rape and murder, hosted a virtual satsang event on Wednesday. Among guests were politicians, including the mayor of Haryana's Karnal and other BJP leaders. The Dera Sacha Sauda chief, who was convicted in 2017, was granted a 40-day parole last week following an application filed by his family.
Top Haryana BJP leaders at this online sermon by rape and murder convict Dera Sacha Sauda chief Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh. Days after his release on furlough, cleared by the Manohar Lal Khattar government just ahead of the crucial panchayat polls and an assembly by-election in the state.
रामनगर में हमारा निवास स्थान है, वहाँ बहुत संगत जुड़ी हुई है आपसे।
पिताजी आपका आशीर्वाद बना रहे
जी बेटा।
और पहले भी आप करनाल आए थे।
Ram Rahim's sect claims to have massive following in Haryana and neighbouring states like Punjab and Western UP. This is not the first time he has been released from prison this year. In February this year, he got a 3 weeks furlough before the Punjab elections. In June, he got a month-long parole just before the Sangrur by-election. In October, he got parole for 40 days before the Adampur by-elections.
डेरा सच्चा सौदा के जो करनाल के एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन हैं इनके द्वारा मेयर को, सीनियर मेयर, डिप्टी मेयर को कल जो पैरोल के आने के बाद जो बाबा जी ने अपना जो सत्संग किया था, ऑनलाइन सत्संग, तो वो कर वहाँ से थे बन्नावड़ यूपी डेरे से, और करनाल में यहाँ कमोपुरा जो हमारा नाम चर्चा का है उसमें हुआ था ये।
नहीं, ऐसा मुझे मालूम नहीं है। ये जो सारी कार्रवाई की जाती है पैरोल देने की, ये जेल विभाग द्वारा की जाती है और उन्हीं के पास डिटेल्ड जानकारी होती है कि किस आधार पर दी गई है और क्यों दी गई है। आई डू नॉट नो, आई हैव नथिंग टू डू विद दिस।
Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh is currently serving a life term in jail in Haryana's Rohtak after his 2017 conviction for raping 2 women disciples at his ashram in Sirsa, where the Dera Sacha Sauda is headquartered. Last year, the Dera sect head was also convicted along with 4 others for hatching a conspiracy to kill Dera manager Ranjit Singh in 2002. In 2019, Ram Rahim and 3 others were also convicted for the murder of a journalist in 2002. But for the Khattar government, politics appears to have taken precedence over propriety. The coming panchayat polls in Haryana will be a test of the government's popularity, especially in rural areas. The Adampur by-poll is significant too. BJP leader Kuldeep Bishnoi's son is the party's candidate for the seat. With Alok Pandey, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
And as the Ukraine-Russia war intensifies, India has issued an advisory asking all its citizens to avoid travel to Ukraine, citing the deteriorating situation in Ukraine, in the country, and also has advised against travel to Ukraine as the war escalates. Indian citizens, including students currently in Ukraine, are advised to leave Ukraine at the earliest by available means, the Indian embassy in Ukraine has said in a statement published on their Twitter handle. My colleague Maha Siddiqui joins us for more. Maha, not the first advisory.
Yes, absolutely, Sneha. In fact, we saw similar advisory coming a few days ago as well, in which it was clearly specified that people from India who are there in Ukraine at the moment should stay in touch with the embassy and should reconsider their plan in Ukraine. This was specifically because we had seen some attacks in civilian areas as far as the Ukraine capital Kiev is also concerned, and that is when this advisory was put out. Now another advisory clearly underlining that anybody planning to travel to Ukraine should avoid doing so, and those who are there in Ukraine should leave. Now this brings us to the question, Sneha, as to who remains in Ukraine, because remember over 6 months ago in February when the war had started, then there were hectic efforts made. And we all saw those pictures of how difficult it was to pull those students, especially out of the eastern part of Ukraine. So the question is, who is there? Because among Indians who is there? Because most of them were pulled out of the war-torn country. I understand, and I spoke to a few officials, I understand that some people had gone back, and that is why this concern has now emerged again, and this advisory has been put out.
Well, thank you, Maha. Well, and not so good in news. The rupee closed at a new record low of 83.2 against the dollar on Wednesday, reversing gains from earlier in the session, making any possibility of fighting high inflation much harder. And this is likely to keep major central banks in rate hike mode, hurting the recent risk assets rally. The rupee closed at a lifetime low against the dollar, according to IMF. On an average, 10% dollar appreciation adds to 1% inflation. Globally, if you look at the picture, in UK, the inflation has crossed 10%, while Eurozone inflation is at 9.9%. UN Secretary General has some strong words on human rights and protecting minorities on his first day in India, while in Mumbai. He also visited the Taj Hotel in memory of those who died in the 26/11 terror attack. This on a day China blocked another move by India and the US to sanction a LET terrorist, Shahid Mahmood.
The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on a 2-day visit to India. Starting his first visit to the country in his second term, Guterres came with some critical advice for the world's largest democracy and also currently a member of the United Nations Security Council.
As an elected member of the Human Rights Council, India has a responsibility to shape global human rights and to protect and promote the rights of all individuals, including members of minority communities.
While making sharp observations on human rights, Guterres also highlighted the need for condemning hate speech unequivocally. He also stressed on the need for robust institutions, including protecting journalists for a well-functional democracy. His comments coming within 12 hours of Sana Irshad Mattu from Jammu and Kashmir being stopped from flying out of the country for the second time since last year. She was to receive the prestigious Pulitzer Prize for Journalism.
By condemning hate speech unequivocally, by protecting the rights and freedoms of journalists, human rights activists, students and academics, and by ensuring the continued independence of India's judiciary, this is the India that the world has celebrated, and I urge Indians to be vigilant and to increase your investments in an inclusive, pluralistic, diverse community and society.
The United Nations Secretary-General started his visit by paying tributes to the victims of the 26/11 terror attack at the Taj Mahal Hotel in Mumbai. This even as in New York, China once again blocked an India-US proposal at the UN to list Lashkar-e-Taiba's Shahid Mahmood as global terrorist. Mahmood has been a long-standing senior elite member based in Karachi and has been affiliated with the group since 2007. The same terror outfit that carried out the dastardly 26/11 terror attack in Mumbai. Bureau Report, NDTV.
And in UK, Home Secretary Suella Braverman is also out of the Truss cabinet as per reports. She is the second to go after Finance Minister Kwasi Kwarteng in the barely 2 months old Truss government. This even as British Prime Minister Liz Truss insisted she would not quit on Wednesday as she faced questions from booing MPs at her first question time session since abandoning her disastrous tax-slashing economic policies.
Mr. Speaker, I am a fighter and not a quitter. I have acted in the national interest to make sure that we have economic stability.
Mr. Speaker, she's asking me questions because we're a government in waiting and they're an opposition in waiting.
That's all we have in this bulletin. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for all the latest.